look like myself like a human being with spiritual overtones. And I've never believed in trying to impress my belief on others. But I am a Christian, and I do believe in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Taylor was my eldest child, my one and only son. And I believe, through faith, that he is still with me. I know what Taylor taught me the most about, and that was unconditional love. The same love that Christ said he has for us. Unconditionally, I love Taylor. I loved him when he was sober, because when he was sober, he was the best of all of us. The most affectionate, most outgoing, the most happy. And when he was impaired, he was not. I wanted to prove something to myself back in the day. And so, at 32 years of age, as a physician up there in Youngstown out of Don King's camp, I said, I know I can do this, and I'm going to prove it. So I entered as an open division. Some of these boys 10 years younger and turned pro. And I won the open division Golden Gloves. I think I'm the only doctor to probably ever do that, and the reason is because the rest of them are too smart to get their brains hit, and they go swimming or ride a bike like I should have, but I was born to fight. So after that, I was over. I promised my residency trainer, promised my wife there'd be no further foolishness. But I opened a gym to train troubled young men, and we were called the Mighty Warrior Fighting Gym, and Taylor was undefeated, and we had several boys. One went to the Junior Olympics. In 2 years, everybody in Springfield, St. Louis, and Kansas City all knew about the Mighty Warriors. So I always tried to hang on to that Mighty Warrior thing. I can tell you this, a father could not have loved his son more. I love my son. And I know it's true. My wife told me I'd be a great father. And if I'm great at anything, it's that. I didn't mind being an enabler. I didn't care if I was called an enabler, I thought I'm doing a good job. Because for me, I was programmed to be guilty over everything, so I had to give it everything I had to know that if he didn't make it, that I wouldn't feel guilty over a dadgum thing. Because I had done everything that I knew. Sober living, detox, prison, lawyers, the law. 15-year battle, $250,000. I would ask myself, doesn't my son love me? Because my dad said something to me when I was a child. He said, son, you love too deep. Now, what's that supposed to mean? He said, you love too much, and I'm worried about you. I go, why? He goes, because you're never going to get it back. And I said, why would you say that to me? Well, I think it's because he knew good and well that my mother didn't love him, and she didn't because she told me so. So I always ask her, I go, why'd you name me Marvin then? His name's Marvin Earl, so mine's Marvin Lynn. What'd you do that for? She said, well, you should have thought more about your middle name, Lynn. I go, what's that? That's after Jimmy Lynn, the man I really love. Oh. Oh, I love you, Mother. Yeah. Oh, I love my son. And so we get to these stages of grief. Denial. Well, yeah, you're hoping that you wake up in the morning, this won't be happening. This can't be happening. I was like God after Mom and his mother and my soulmate. Really? Of course you're going to be angry. Christ got angry. I mean, why wouldn't you be angry? Of course you have every right to be angry, and it's okay for you to be angry. Depression. Well, if you weren't depressed before, you certainly will be now. That's for sure. Bargaining. Well, yes. Take me. Let my wife live. They need their mother. They need their mother more than me. Take me. Let my son live. He's young. He needs to check. Come on now. Let me go. Let me die. It's all futile. So I was trying to think, well, why are people coming up and saying things to me like, I want you to know this is never going to change. You're never going to get any better. And I was just like, if I can't get any better than this, I'm not going to make it. I'm going to die. I can't go on. I mean, there's no way. I'll never do to my daughters what my mother did to me, but I can't. I'll have a heart attack. I can't live like this. The pain is too intense. My mother's death. My soulmate's death. My son's death. That's how it goes. Don't worry, as a fighter, I can take that. Why don't we heal? Why can't we be better? Because I'm already better. He's 8 months gone and I'm better. I said, I got to get better. So I started fighting. I said, I got to get better. So I said, chuck this acceptance. Chuck it. I'm going to change it to acknowledgement. I can acknowledge that he's dead, but I can't accept it. I'll never be able to accept that my son died of a drug overdose. I can't do it. He was loved too much. I just can't accept it. So if I have to accept this to heal, well, then I can't do it. So I said, I won't have it be acceptance anymore. I have it be acknowledgement. I've been talking to other people, other doctors, just saying that makes perfect sense. No wonder people can't get no better, get caught up in this rat wheel turning of a hamster wheel. They can't shut it off, but just constantly in the grief, can never get out and spin out. Why? Because they can never accept it. They cannot. Jesus had problems with this in the garden. He wept. He said, please take this cup from me. Please let there be another way. I don't want to get up on that cross. Come on now, there must be another way. Finally, all he had to say was, thy will be done. So he's up on the cross, and I often wonder, well, did he finally accept it, or did he really just acknowledge it was his Father's will? All I know is if he had trouble with it, why shouldn't I or you? He asked why he was being forsaken. I asked myself the same thing. Taylor was supposed to be doing a Zoom call. I got home and he said, I'm on my Zoom. I got home, he wasn't there. He was not there. He was somewhere else with his Zoom, with his computer. I called him. He was over to this gal's Natasha. She was no good. And so I called. I said, get home now. Well, after that, he never picked up the phone no more, and which was standard. And she never. I sent her a message, and it wasn't very nice, and she sent me even one that was much worse back. And you know that she never called me. So the next morning, I get a call from my daughter, Allie. She says, I'm getting on a plane. I'll be there as soon as I can, Dad. I go, what are you talking about? She says, Taylor's in the ICU at Lee Summit, St. Luke's. I go, what? What are you talking about? She said, Dad, I'm getting on a plane right now. I'll be there as soon as I can. So I fell on the floor. The only thing I knew to do was struggle to call Kelly. And she came to drive because I couldn't drive. So she came and she got me and took me there. All I remember was trying to run She said when I got in that room, I fell flat out in a fetal position weeping, and I don't know how long I was there. I don't know because I don't remember. I finally got to where I could, comb his hair, kiss him, and hold him because he was warm. And I said, I'll not be here if you turn that off. Don't try to turn that off with me in here. I mean, I'm not going to see him grow cold. I'm not going to see him stop breathing. That's not happening. And so when I thought about Jesus on the cross, he said, why have you forsaken me? It's like, well, maybe his father couldn't watch him die like that because I couldn't watch my son I couldn't do it. And I wasn't about to. I can acknowledge it, but I can't accept it. So this is the key to healing, I think. It's helped me tremendously. So I wanted to help others because I'm not alone. People in this room have lost. I have patients that have buried 2 of their kids. There's always somebody's got it worse. What are the positives of suffering? Understanding the cross, loving stronger, loving harder, be humble yet shrewd, vanity and ego, beaten out of you. So you understand the crucifixion better and what was given for you. Why would God allow this to happen? For understanding. Well, we can't get over these things. We can only just get through that. You're not alone. And I didn't want to do it just one-on-one with the patients anymore. I wanted a group, and I wanted to grow. I wanted to, because I think it needs to be heard. But we'll see. So you got to try real hard to remember the good. I just went into absolute seclusion afterwards for a while to take all his pictures down. I couldn't see it. I couldn't. But now I've got it back, and now I've gotten rid of the things that I couldn't wear, and I put all of his stuff next to mine in the hope chest and gave the girls all there. So when they come in, it should be easy for them. I got his boxing robe next to mine. His medals next to mine. I know I'll see my son again. And I'll see my wife again, and that eases the sting of death. That eases it. I can still feel him inside me. Just like I can feel his mother. Just down deep behind my heart somewhere. It's where the anxiety comes from too. It's like it just starts, you feel it and it just starts coming over you and it paralyzes you. But on September the 3rd, because on Father's Day I was useless, I couldn't come out of the house. I stayed in for almost a week. The 4th of July wasn't too much better because last 4th of July we were on a blanket together on the hill watching the fireworks, and he was telling me how great it was. So his birthday, September the 3rd, and I have made an appointment to go to KC Floats where you're in that tank. I went into it once. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm back in my mother's womb. So I'm going back, and then at noon at that day, I see a man that my papa was half Cherokee, so I see a man that we work on, Indian type meditations and things, and that really helps me because I resonate with that. So this is what to leave you with. Faith is daring the soul to go beyond what the eyes can see. 1. 2. Life takes us to unexpected places, and only love can bring us home. 3. Be brave. There's no medals for cowardice. Be fearless, be bold, and be strong. For others, be a mighty warrior. I love you, son.
So many focus on the emotional aspect of grief. It's worth noting that there are physical, social, and cognitive reactions as well. Have you experienced any of these, and how did you cope with them?
So what I did was I wrote down, like I always, I make a list. These are the things that I must do, make myself do today. And I will do it. I always had a training program with the boxing and the wrestling and everything. So I just made myself up a training program to see, because I realized I was secluding myself, staying in the dark, insomnia, couldn't sleep for the life of me, and appetite was off, and I just wanted to drink. I just wanted to drink alcohol. I wanted to escape, but I knew that was a dead-end street, so I stopped that.
Someone were to ask you when grief ends, what would you answer?
And I'll carry it with me to my grave. I don't think it ends. I don't know about for other people, so I just think that death will be easier. Despite leaving my girls, I mean, I'll know that I'll say, I'm going to see your mother, I'm going to see your brother, and we'll wait for you there, and that'll comfort them. And, so I just think that grief is something that we just, I'll just carry it with me, but I'll carry it in a better way.
The world doesn't seem to understand my pain and seems tired of me complaining. How do you deal with those people who say stuff like that?
Christopher Ely was a very talented physician. He was a very, very knowledgeable physician. He was my family care doctor. And back in Texas, it was, I had a psychiatrist by the name of Pat Rabjohn at the Behavioral Institute. They're both wonderful people. And they came to the startling conclusion that if I had the following things happen, that surely as a human being that I should have something for anxiety and depression. So they came to which I thought, thank God that somebody would actually think that I need something so that I won't self-medicate. So they gave me that. Well, Christopher Ely retired. So next thing I find myself is in this nurse practitioner's office, and I walk in and she goes, "You don't need this." I got nothing against nurse practitioners, because I was like, wait a minute, I thought they were sending me to see a psychiatrist. She goes, "Oh, we're going to do that now, huh?" She goes, you don't like nurse practitioners? You think you're above that? Blah. I said, wait a minute. I'm not trying to say nothing. I just, well, how do you know? I just walked in, you go, "You don't need that." What am I supposed to need? She took me from 90 on the Klonopin to 30. She gave me some Lunesta. I think the Cymbalta was probably a good call. I mean, that seems to be working a little bit. I mean, I went through absolute withdrawal and hell, so, you know. So I get my patients, you know, when they get off, they lose their narcotics or whatever. I mean, but my anxiety was through the roof. I asked her, I said, "Will you want me to self-medicate?" And I'll tell you, the only way I've survived the last couple months is I'm just drinking more margaritas. Oh my God.
What do you say when people ask how they can help you?
At first, I didn't want anybody to say anything. I wanted people just to be like, it was okay for them to be quiet and just say, look, I just love you and I don't get it, I don't understand, I'm not going to pretend to. And I appreciate that. Then later, I was like, I wanted them to tell me that they love me and they acknowledge what had happened. And, because I knew that if I was ever going to heal, I'd have to have love. I was really struggling hard. And I thought, you know what, I'm coming to the finish line and I'm not going to make it. But I had a trip planned just in time to get out there and see my daughters. And the anniversary of Tammy's death is December the 7th. 25 years she's been gone now. So December the 7th, Gentry gave birth to Orrin Mara. They took the T and A off Mara. I call her Scooter. And I didn't think I'd be excited about having this baby after what happened because Taylor died December 6th. And she was giving birth on December 7th. So she couldn't be there with her brother, which hurt her real bad, which made it almost impossible for her to speak at his service. But Allie was there with me and Bobby. But I went back to those girls just showered me with love. They wouldn't let me pay for nothing. They booked a hotel, swimming pool. They just doted on me. They wouldn't let me do anything. But they really, when I came back from there, and when I looked at that grandchild, I looked in her face and all my pain went away instantly. And so I came back a different person, didn't I? Yeah. Love, see? Support.
Many people are scared to clean out their loved one's closet. How did you start? Well, you had a whole apartment, I guess.
I didn't go in there for a while. I couldn't go in there. But after a while, I went in and I got everything that didn't fit me. I got everything together and got it out as quick as I could. And then I waited. Then there came the time when I was able to start looking at his pictures again and start wearing some of his things. This is his wallet. And, I was able to take out that memory chest, just line everything up together. So the healing is actually coming 8 months out a lot faster than I thought it would. And that has to be God, and it has to be love, because what else could it be? So I think everybody is an individual. Everybody has a right to grieve in their own way. So if it takes you 1 year or 20, there's no rules. All I know is that this is my experience. And I just wanted to share it. I wanted my son's life to change lives down here, even though he's not physically here. Because we were going to finish strong together. And by God, we will one way or another.
Okay, this is the last question. Have you allowed yourself to enjoy life every now and then, ever since you went away?
Yeah, he wanted to know if there was anything that I missed. I said, Taylor, you always knew I like trucks. Trucks and SUVs, I never liked cars, you know that. He goes, well, what about the vet? So I got a Willys Jeep coming in October, and I go pick up a Airstream base camp in November, and by next spring, I'm going to be camping and fishing.
I guess some spots for you.
Yeah. If there's anything anybody else wants to share in their life, their story, I'm going to sit over here. If you want to come and sit or just stay where you are.
We've also shared a lot of loss. Accepting things, you could maybe never accept something, but like you were saying, you can acknowledge it and sometimes maybe it'll never be better in this life, but knowing that the next life and all that, you know, if all I have to do is endure the pain of this life, I have everything in the next life to look forward to. And seeing our loved ones again.
Who did you say you lost?
A stranger.
Lost my two of my cousins, my uncle, two were suicide, a murder. My best friend in the world OD'd just a couple years ago. And
That's
it's
a lot.
just, yeah. I've said, you know, I always say, you know, think life is going to get better, you know. And another thing you mentioned was the good times, you know, and the memories that we keep and we carry of the people that we loved, and they live on through us, and that's how I've made it through when I've hit bottom, when I've had my guts pulled out like you described, you know, and you just crumble, and just have given my life to God, and, you know, because I didn't want my life. I was ready to, you know, I was ready to just kill myself, but I couldn't do that to people that I care about. And so I gave my life to God, and that's when I just lived day by day, and because that's all you can do sometimes is just make it through the day.
We have my sister-in-law, Dylan's cousin, Taylor. It's her mom that is fighting for her life, and
Yeah.
she has brain function, so they're not letting her go yet. But she was in just a horrible car crash 3 weeks ago. So
And that's the mother of my cousin that,
killed himself.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's my
their
brother,
family
and you know, it's a family of 4, and they've still been trying to get through life without Cameron. He took his life in 2015, and now it's just I know that Taylor. She's calling for Cameron now at times. My brother told me, you know, like, and I think she's mad. Like, why aren't you here with me to get do this? I mean, Mom is fighting for her life, and
I'd like to talk about one of the positive things that came out of Taylor for me. So my mom had passed in March of 2018, and so it was March 22nd, 2018, and then I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer March 20th of 2019. As a parent, I thank God my mom didn't see that. So unbeknownst to me, I had not grieved for my mother. So in going through this with F and everything, it has forced me to grieve for my mother. And I think had I not endured this with you, I would still not have grieved for her. Because it's easier to push it down, push it down, push it down. I'm going to deal with it later. Oh, now I don't have time. But being with F and dealing with F and everything through this forced me to. So that is one of the positives out of this unfortunate situation.
yeah,
I think one of the hardest I know the hardest thing is to lose a child. My oldest son, he found both of his brothers. My youngest one hung himself, and he and I had to cut him down.
Oh,
And I never realized how hard that was for him. I knew how hard it was for me as a parent, but I didn't know how hard it was for him. And so he started self-medicating. 2 years later, he found his other little brother dead with a needle in his arm.
Oh, God.
And he ended up going to prison from buying stuff to deal with his pain. But I will say this, they spent the time, the judge normally just, you know, when you're dealing with drugs, you just go to prison and that's that. But I told his lawyer, which was one of those that you don't have to pay, I said, you got to kind of reach down in your heart and think about this. You know, he didn't know what else to do. And I didn't realize it because I was already suffering myself, which is a terrible thing to admit to. Well, he went to prison. But his time in the prison, they taught him how to grieve. They taught him how to handle it. And I wish I had gone to prison to learn how to handle it because I still don't. And it's been 9 years. So, you know, you also have to think not only what's in your heart, but your loved ones' hearts too. And you have to look and see how they're handling it. You can't just focus on yourself. You have to focus on the ones around you too. And be aware of what's going on with them.
It seems like a lot. Maybe I'm out of touch, but it just seems like so many of our younger generation is lost and turning to demonic drugs.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to remember, why are they doing that?
That's what I'm asking. Why is this happening?
Something's not right in their life.
There's a lot of stuff not right in our culture.
Yeah.
You know,
That culture.
It's like it's too confusing. It's too much pressure. It's too much like negativity. There's no like close community anymore.
No.
No.
There's no neighbors.
So divided as people, so divided and
Yeah.
isolated. And the young people just can't take that pressure, you know, it just breaks them. They don't get that love and support they used to, you know, many years ago.
Is
And
that
if they
pressure
don't get it at
coming
home?
from, you think that pressure's coming from
Social media.
Facebook?
Yeah,
or
you know, you
Instagram?
beat me to it. I was gonna say, I would love to go back to like the 80s. I mean, that'd
Yes.
be like heaven.
That
And
Well,
it's
was,
like
it
now,
was.
you can never get away from it. It's like you got 1,000 emails. And think about it's hard for adults, but a child, you get on Facebook and someone, think about when you were bullied as a kid. Now you got someone on Facebook doing it nonstop. It's just too much for these kids. I just pray for them, you know, that God have mercy on them.
Yeah. That's a very
I
good
got a
point.
9-year-old grandson that talks about that.
Technology
And they
can
can
be
be
good and it can also really be bad.
Yeah.
because they can be abused. I mean, terribly abused by their by classmates or like just
That's what he says.
on this social network, and it's like how awful to have that posted about a 9-year-old who just is already struggling with her self-image, and then just people have a cruelty. I think it's always in the home. It has to start in the home. Parents teaching their children that they are worthy of being loved unconditionally.